Captain Elias Kane leaned against the polished metal railing of the station's observation deck, his eyes scanning the stars beyond. The space station, called Aurora Nexus, hovered above a gas giant with swirling blue storms that reflected in its chrome surface. Elias had seen countless stars and planets, yet the sight of this station never failed to awe him. The hub was alive with activity. Aliens of all shapes and sizes moved through the corridors. Merchants shouted in strange languages, and human explorers hustled to complete their assignments. Elias adjusted his jacket and glanced at the station map floating in front of him. He had come here on a routine mission to establish trade and cultural exchange agreements with the local alien communities. Yet he had a feeling today would be different. Humans rarely got a chance to interact freely with some of the rarer species that passed through Aurora Nexus. As he walked through the corridor toward the central marketplace, his eyes caught something unusual. Among the bustling crowd, a young alien girl was quietly observing the stalls. Her skin shimmered faintly under the station lights, and from her back, a set of tentacles glowed softly in shades of violet and cyan. They moved with a gentle rhythm, almost like a dance, and seemed to respond to her emotions. Elias stopped, mesmerized. He had seen aliens of many forms, but there was something uniquely captivating about her. He took a careful step closer, wanting to say something that wouldn't be offensive. After all, first impressions mattered, especially in a place like this. "Excuse me," Elias said, keeping his voice calm and friendly. "Your tentacles are really beautiful. They glow in a way I've never seen before." The girl froze. Elias could see the glow of her tentacles pulse in reaction. At first, he worried he had said something wrong. But then, slowly, she tilted her head, and the glow shifted to a brighter, warmer hue. It was her way of communicating curiosity and intrigue. "Thank you," she said, her voice soft but musical. Not many humans notice. Most just stare and look away. Elias smiled. "I didn't want to just stare. I wanted to understand, appreciate. They're very elegant. It's like they have their own language of light." Her name was Lyra, she explained, and she came from a distant planet called ViewerShip. She was visiting the station to learn about other cultures and to deliver a diplomatic message from her people. Elias found himself walking alongside her, asking questions about her home, her people, and how her species used tentacle communication. Lyra explained that the glowing patterns were not just for show, they conveyed emotions, intentions, and sometimes even complex thoughts. "Each color and pattern has meaning," she said, moving her tentacles in a slow spiral. Most humans cannot understand it. But somehow, you see it differently." Elias chuckled. "Maybe it's because I like trying to understand things. I've met many alien species, but yours is special. I feel like I could spend years learning just from watching your tentacles move." Lyra's eyes widened slightly, and her tentacles shimmered with a brighter glow. Around them, other aliens whispered, noticing the human who actually respected another species' unique traits instead of mocking or ignoring them. In the bustling, chaotic marketplace, their little bubble of connection seemed to glow softly, almost as if her tentacles reflected their growing trust. They stopped near a stall selling exotic fruits from across the galaxy. Elias picked up a round, blue fruit, its surface shimmering slightly like a tiny nebula. "Do you have fruits like this on ViewerShip?" he asked. Lyra nodded, though her species rarely ate fruits. "We have similar plants. But most of our food is different. Something humans might not like. We eat more minerals and nutrient gels. But we enjoy observing foods from other planets. It's part of learning." Elias handed her a small piece of the fruit. Lyra hesitated but then tasted it. Her eyes lit up in surprise. "This is sweet. Humans are strange. You find pleasure in taste in ways we do not." They laughed together, a sound that surprised them both in its simplicity and warmth. Around them, the station carried on with its usual hum of activity. Yet Elias felt that he had just experienced something extraordinary. A connection that was rare and delicate. Hours passed as Elias and Lyra wandered through the station, She showed him how her tentacles could manipulate delicate objects with incredible precision. She twisted them around small tools, lifted objects without touching them directly, and even created light patterns that told short stories about her planet. Elias was fascinated. He realized that her species had evolved an entirely new form of communication and interaction, one humans had never truly mastered. As the day turned into night, or rather, the station's artificial lighting shifted to mimic dusk, Elias and Lyra sat on a bench overlooking the observation deck. The stars stretched endlessly, and the distant storms of the gas giant below shimmered like liquid silver. "I have to admit," Elias said. "When I first saw you, I thought, I don't know. Maybe I'd just be another human staring without understanding. But I'm glad I spoke. I'm glad I tried to notice." Lyra's tentacles pulsed softly in response. "Most humans do not see beyond themselves. They notice differences, not beauty. You are different." Elias felt a warmth in his chest, not from the station's heat but from the sincerity of her words. "I think humans can learn a lot from your people. About communication, patience, understanding, even about kindness." Lyra tilted her head, her eyes reflecting the stars. "Kindness. Yes. Humans rarely show it to beings they do not know. You did not fear me. You did not mock me. That is special." Elias smiled and offered his hand. "Then maybe we can teach each other. And maybe, one day, humans and Virelians can work together more closely. Not just for trade or politics, but for understanding." Her glowing patterns shifted rapidly, like a sparkling ribbon of light. To any observer, it might seem random, but Elias, noticing the subtle repetitions and rhythms, realized she was expressing joy and agreement, a language he was beginning to understand. "Elias," Lyra said quietly, "I want to learn more about humans, but I also want humans to learn about us. Not just facts, not just images, but feelings, gestures, understanding, your words, your compliment." It was the first step. Elias felt a sense of pride mixed with humility. A simple compliment, something that might have seemed trivial, had sparked trust, curiosity, and connection. He realized that in a galaxy filled with advanced technology, starships, and alien species, small gestures of respect could be more powerful than lasers or shields. Suddenly, an announcement echoed through the station. "All personnel, security alert, unknown vessel approaching. All civilians, please remain in safe zones." Elias tensed. He glanced at Lyra, whose tentacles glowed in sharp, warning patterns. "It seems our calm day might be ending," she said. Elias nodded. "Then let's make the most of it while we can. I have a feeling today is just the beginning." As they walked toward the station's command center, Elias thought about the irony. A compliment, simple, human, honest, had created a bond strong enough to face challenges together. And in the unpredictable vastness of space, trust between species could be the difference between survival and disaster. Lyra glanced at him and gave a small smile. Her glowing tentacles wrapped around her gently, almost in a protective gesture. "You are different from other humans. I am glad I met you." Elias returned the smile. "And I am glad I met you, Lyra. More than you know." No. Above them, the stars shimmered, the gas giant swirled, and the station hummed with life. But in that moment, in a galaxy filled with unknown dangers, a single human and a single alien had begun to build something extraordinary. Trust, understanding, and a connection that transcended species. The first part of their journey had begun. The security alert buzzed through the station, but Elias Kane stayed calm. He had faced unknown vessels before, yet today, he felt a strange sense of anticipation. Beside him, Lyra's glowing tentacles shifted in rhythmic patterns, a mixture of concern and curiosity. Elias had begun to notice that her tentacle patterns were far more than decorative. They were expressive, almost like an emotional compass. "Do you think it's hostile?" Elias asked, glancing at the nearest holo screen showing a small, unidentified craft approaching Aurora Nexus. Lyra's tentacles pulsed a deep violet, then a soft cyan. Elias had learned from their earlier conversation that violet meant caution, while cyan suggested curiosity. She tilted her head. "I do not know. My people would call this a test. Humans are unpredictable. We observe first." Elias nodded. "Observation first. That seems wise. Let's do the same." They moved toward a quieter section of the station, away from the bustling marketplace. Elias wanted to continue their conversation uninterrupted. The previous day had been short, but meaningful. He was eager to understand more about her people and their tentacle communication. Lyra guided him to a small alcove filled with soft, ambient lights. She waved her tentacles toward a floating holopad. "This is my language of light. Each sequence has meaning. Humans rarely notice the subtle differences. But you see." Elias leaned closer, intrigued. "I want to learn. Please teach me." Lyra's tentacles began to weave delicate patterns in the air, each glowing streak forming arcs and loops. "See here," she said. "This pattern means curiosity. This one," her tentacles swirled in a spiral of colors, "means trust." Elias studied each movement carefully. It was complex, but fascinating. "It's almost like music," he said. "But visual, instead of auditory." Lyra's eyes brightened. "Yes. Music of emotion. Humans rely on words. We rely on movement and light. But if observed closely, the meaning is clear. Two, 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 two." They spent hours practicing small exercises. Elias learned to recognize basic signals: happiness, caution, surprise. In return, he taught her simple human gestures: a smile, a nod, the way hands could express reassurance. Lyra was fascinated, and her tentacles glowed with excitement at every successful exchange. As the hours passed, Elias realized something important. This was not just a learning exercise. It was trust-building. Every small compliment, every moment of attention, had strengthened their bond. He remembered the first time he had complimented her tentacles. What seemed like a simple gesture had opened a door, one that allowed him to step into her world and for her to step into his. Their growing understanding did not go unnoticed. Station personnel watched from a distance, whispering among themselves. It was unusual to see a human and an alien interact so genuinely, without fear, without mockery. And even amidst the security alert, Elias felt a calm focus he rarely experienced. Suddenly, the station lights flickered. A soft alarm echoed. The unknown vessel had entered the station's outer perimeter. It was not aggressive yet, but it was close enough to cause concern. Elias took a deep breath. "Lyra," he said, "your people must have ways to detect intentions. Can you read this vessel?" Her tentacles twisted in intricate patterns, glowing in flashes of violet and gold. "They are cautious. They study, but they are not yet hostile. They may be testing the station's defenses, or us." Elias nodded. "Then, we should prepare. But not panic. Observation first. Right?" Lyra's tentacles pulsed in agreement. Together, they moved through the station, checking small systems and communicating silently with their gestures. Elias began to notice how naturally humans and Lyra could complement each other's abilities. Where humans relied on technology, Lyra's species could sense subtle shifts in energy, vibrations, and intentions. Her tentacles could detect faint disturbances in the station's systems before alarms even triggered. "This is incredible," Elias said. "Your senses. It's like having a living scanner." Lyra blushed slightly. her tentacles glowing a soft pink. We do not boast. But yes, we can perceive patterns that humans cannot. It is a gift and a responsibility. Hours passed in this delicate balance of learning and preparation. Elias showed her human navigation systems, how to access control panels and monitor energy grids. In return, Lyra demonstrated how her tentacles could relay complex data through color patterns, bypassing conventional computers entirely. By combining their skills, they could predict small failures and prevent problems before they arose. Elias realized the bigger picture. Their cooperation could change the way humans interacted with alien species. Simple gestures, respect, and observation could achieve more than fear or aggression. A compliment, he thought, could spark understanding that technology alone never could. Around midday, they took a short break in the station's observation lounge. Lyra floated near the large window, her tentacles curling softly around the railing. Elias handed her a small drink synthesized from station nutrients. "Do humans always find ways to connect with others?" she asked quietly. Elias chuckled. "We try. But sometimes we forget the simplest gestures. A compliment, a smile, a moment of patience. Those can be as powerful as any invention or weapon. I guess today I'm learning that from you too." Lyra's tentacles glowed warmly. "Then you are human in the best way. You see value in connection. That is rare." The calm was broken by a soft vibration beneath their feet. The unknown vessel had made a small approach maneuver, signaling through lights and sounds. Elias and Lyra moved quickly to the station's central hub. Station guards and officers were alert, but not panicked. Elias felt the responsibility weigh on him. "We need to communicate," he said. "Not with weapons first, but with understanding. Can you help me?" Lyra's tentacles pulsed in agreement. "Yes, trust is the first step. If we show respect, they may respond in kind." Together, they crafted a display of lights and signals, using both human and Virelian communication methods. Elias activated the station's external lights to form a welcoming pattern, while Lyra projected intricate patterns through her tentacles that conveyed curiosity and openness. The vessel paused, its lights flickering in response. It was subtle, but Elias noticed the change immediately. The unknown ship was observing, not attacking. It seemed to recognize the intent behind their combined signals. "See?" Lyra said, her voice soft but excited. "Connection is understood across species. Even unknown species can sense respect and patience." Elias smiled, feeling a surge of pride. A single gesture, a compliment, can grow into this. Imagine what humans and your people could achieve if we always led with understanding first. Lyra's tentacles glowed in a pattern Elias had begun to recognize as joy. "You are wise for a human." They continued to monitor the vessel together. Hours passed, and the unknown ship eventually moved on, signaling acknowledgement before departing. Elias and Lyra exhaled, relieved. Their cooperation had averted potential conflict without any violence. Afterward, they returned to the observation lounge, exhausted but elated. Elias looked at Lyra, her tentacles curling softly in a relaxed pattern. "I think we've just proven something important today," he said. "Humans can learn from your people, and your people can learn from humans. Not just technology, but trust, patience, and connection." Lyra nodded, her glow soft and steady. "Yes. And it began with something simple. A compliment. You saw me, not as a curiosity, not as an object, but as an individual. That is the first step to understanding." Elias leaned back, watching the swirling storms of the gas giant below. "It's amazing, isn't it? How one small gesture can grow into something powerful. Something extraordinary." Lyra extended a single tentacle, brushing lightly against his arm in a gesture of friendship. Elias smiled and gently touched her tentacle. It glowed warmly at their contact. Around them, the station hummed with life, oblivious to the subtle bonds forming between two species. Yet Elias knew that this small human-alien partnership could change the way Aurora Nexus and maybe even the galaxy viewed cooperation. Hours later, as the artificial night cycle bathed the station in soft blue light, Elias and Lyra sat side by side on a balcony overlooking the observation deck. Stars stretched endlessly across the horizon, and the gas giant swirled like liquid silver below. "I am glad I met you," Elias said quietly. Lyra's tentacles shimmered with a gentle glow. "And I am glad you noticed me. Your words, your patience. It matters more than you realize." Elias smiled, feeling a warmth that went beyond friendship. He had expected a routine mission, but instead, he had found connection, trust, and the beginning of something truly extraordinary. And it had all started with a simple compliment. The stars twinkled above, the station hummed softly beneath them, and the first threads of a lasting bond between human and Virelian had begun to weave themselves into existence. The calm of the station was shattered the next morning. Alarms blared, red lights flashed, and a low hum of energy filled every corridor. Elias Kane grabbed his jacket and ran toward the central hub, Lyra floating beside him with her tentacles glowing in sharp, warning patterns. "Elias," she said, her voice tense, "they are approaching. This is not a test anymore. They are hostile." Elias nodded, taking a deep breath. "Then we prepare. But we stay calm. Panic won't help anyone." The station was a maze of corridors, laboratories, and living quarters. Human security teams quickly moved to defensive positions, while station officials tried to coordinate communications. Elias and Lyra made their way to the command center, weaving through crowds of nervous humans and aliens alike. Once inside, Elias scanned the display. The hostile fleet was small but fast, moving closer to Aurora Nexus with clear intent. Shields would hold, but only if they were managed perfectly. The humans needed someone who could anticipate attacks, and Lyra's senses were key. "Your people can sense energy changes, right?" Elias asked. "Can you tell where their attacks might hit?" Lyra's tentacles pulsed rapidly, flashing colors that Elias had learned to interpret. "Yes, they will try to disable the power cores first. Then, life support systems. Their strategy is direct, but predictable." Elias nodded. "Good. Then we can use that. Human tactics plus your insight." The station's security officer looked at Elias, skepticism in her eyes. "You want to coordinate with an alien? During an attack?" Elias didn't hesitate. "Yes. She can sense things our sensors cannot. We need every advantage." 5. Lyra extended a tentacle to the control console. Lights flowed along her appendages as she interfaced with the station's systems in a way that humans could barely comprehend. Elias watched in awe as she transmitted real-time energy readings directly to the central hub. Every pulse of her tentacles represented data, patterns, and warning signals that would take humans hours to calculate. "Ready?" Elias asked. Lyra's tentacles curled confidently. "Yes." The first wave of attack came swiftly. Small drones zipped toward the station, firing energy bursts that struck the outer hull. Alarms blared, but Elias and Lyra remained calm. He directed human teams to defensive turrets while Lyra's tentacles manipulated the station's shields with precision, far beyond what the human operators could achieve alone. "Focus on the drones near the docking bays," Elias shouted. "Lyra, can you stabilize the shields there?" Her tentacles glowed a bright cyan, weaving across the control panel in complex patterns. The shields shimmered, absorbing the blasts and redirecting energy to weak points. Within minutes, the drones began to falter, their attacks ineffective against the coordinated human-alien defense. "Impressive," Elias said, ducking a stray spark from a malfunctioning console. "Your people's abilities, they're incredible." Lyra's tentacles pulsed with soft violet, a sign of modesty. "It is not just ability, it is understanding. Cooperation. Humans and Virelians together. Stronger than alone." The second wave was larger. A faster, more agile vessel broke through the outer perimeter. It targeted the station's energy grids, attempting to disrupt power. Elias realized they had only seconds to act. "Lyra, can you detect its weak points?" he asked urgently. Her tentacles flickered rapidly, analyzing the ship's energy signature. There. The joint between the engines and main hull. A precise strike there will destabilize it. Elias relayed the information to the turret operators. The humans adjusted aim, coordinating with Lyra's guidance. A single well-placed shot hit the weak point, causing the hostile vessel to spin out of control and retreat. Cheers erupted from the command center, but Elias and Lyra stayed focused. The fight was not over. As the battle continued, Elias realized how much he had underestimated the power of collaboration. His human instincts, combined with Lyra's unique abilities, created a synergy that neither could achieve alone. She could sense threats before they appeared, manipulate systems instantly, and communicate strategies through glowing patterns that humans could interpret once trained. Lyra noticed his admiration. "You are learning quickly," she said. "Humans often rely too much on tools. You adapt. You notice, that is rare." Elias smiled, ducking another energy surge. "I've had a good teacher." Hours passed. The station shook under repeated attacks, yet the combined efforts of humans and Lyra kept systems stable. She formed glowing barriers with her tentacles, intercepting stray projectiles before they could hit critical areas. Each time she moved, her patterns of light communicated strategy and intent to Elias, who relayed commands efficiently. Amid the chaos, Elias noticed frightened humans and aliens hiding in corridors. "Lyra," he said, "can you guide them to safety?" Her tentacles swirled in elegant arcs. "Yes." "Follow me." Together, they moved through the station, Lyra's glowing appendages lighting the path. Stranded workers followed, feeling reassured by her presence. Her gentle touch and steady glow conveyed calm in a way humans had rarely experienced. Elias marveled at how something as simple as trust and presence could save lives amid such danger. By late evening, the hostile fleet finally retreated. Aurora Nexus had sustained damage, but no lives were lost. Elias exhaled, leaning against a console. "We did it," he said, exhaustion evident in his voice. Lyra floated beside him, her tentacles softly curling around her. "We did it. Together." Elias smiled. "Together. That's the key, isn't it? Humans, Virelians, anyone. Cooperation, respect, understanding. It's more powerful than weapons or tactics alone." Lyra's tentacles glowed with warm light, a pattern Elias had learned to recognize as gratitude. "Yes. And it began with something simple. A compliment. You saw me. Not as a curiosity, but as an equal. That made this possible." Elias looked at her, realizing the truth in her words. The compliment he had given hours before something he almost thought trivial had created trust, opened communication, and ultimately strengthened cooperation that saved lives. Station personnel began to gather in the central hub, celebrating the victory. Officers praised Elias for his quick thinking, while Lyra received recognition from her own people visiting the station. The humans and Virelians exchanged nods, smiles, and subtle gestures of acknowledgement. Elias approached Lyra as the crowd cheered. "You were amazing," he said quietly. "I've never seen anyone coordinate defenses like that. Your tentacles, they're incredible tools, but also, more than tools. They are expression, guidance, connection." Lyra's eyes reflected the ambient lights of the hub. "It is our way. But you understood. You noticed the meaning. That is why we succeeded." He laughed softly. "Funny, isn't it? How one small gesture, a simple compliment, could lead to this. Who would have thought?" Her tentacles twitched in amusement, glowing a playful pattern. "It is not funny. It is proof. Proof that kindness and attention matter. Even in war, even in crisis. Trust begins with respect." The night settled over the station, quiet now except for the hum of repairs and life returning to normal. Elias and Lyra walked to the observation deck, watching the stars and the gas giant below. You know, Elias said, I thought I was just coming here on a simple mission. Trade, diplomacy, cultural exchange. But today I've learned something far more valuable. Lyra's tentacles curled gently. And what is that? That small gestures can be the most powerful force in the universe. Understanding, respect, trust. It can change outcomes, save lives, and even build friendships across species. It all starts with noticing. With kindness. Lyra's glow pulsed softly, almost like a smile. Then you are human in the best way. You see value in connection. That is rare. Elias looked at her, feeling a profound sense of pride and humility. And I'm glad I met you, Lyra. I think this is just the beginning. Above them, stars twinkled endlessly. Aurora Nexus hummed quietly, alive with repair crews and grateful citizens. But Elias and Lyra knew that something extraordinary had begun, not just a partnership in crisis, but a bond of trust and understanding that could shape the future of human and Varelian relations. And in the quiet glow of her tentacles, Elias saw the reminder of how far one simple, genuine compliment could reach. The aftermath of the attack left Aurora Nexus alive, but buzzing with activity. Repairs were underway. Security teams were recalibrating systems, and humans and aliens worked side by side. Yet, amid all this, Elias Kane and Lyra floated above the central hub, on a quiet observation balcony overlooking the station's inner courtyard. Lyra's tentacles glowed softly, flowing in gentle, rhythmic patterns. Elias had spent hours studying them, and he could now recognize dozens of subtle expressions. Curiosity, relief, calm, even humor. He watched her carefully, waiting for the right moment to speak. Lyra, he began. I know we've faced a lot in the past day, but I wanted to say thank you. Not just for your help in the attack, but for trusting me, for letting me understand your people, your culture, your tentacles. Lyra paused. Her tentacles pulsed a deep, soft violet, then a gentle cyan. Elias recognized these as signals for reflection and acknowledgement. She was considering his words carefully. You humans often speak without understanding, she said finally. But you saw, you noticed. That is rare. And it matters. Elias smiled, feeling warmth in his chest. I don't know if I deserve the credit. We both learned from each other. Lyra's glow shifted to a vibrant, multicolored pattern, one Elias had never seen before. This is my response. Humans cannot fully understand the language of my people, but this conveys respect, trust, and admiration. Elias leaned closer, fascinated. You mean you're showing me your feelings? Lyra's tentacles swirled in intricate loops and arcs. Yes, in Varelian culture, this is a significant gesture. It is not given lightly. You have earned it. By noticing, by respecting, by cooperating. Elias felt a thrill run through him. The compliment he had given on their first meeting, the simple recognition of beauty and uniqueness, had grown into something far greater. It had led to trust, collaboration, and now, a profound acknowledgement from a species he had just begun to understand. You know, he said quietly, I never imagined a simple compliment could go this far. I thought, maybe I'd just make her uncomfortable. But it turned into something extraordinary. I mean, Lyra's tentacles glowed softly, almost like a smile. Yes, small gestures can grow into great things, even across species, even in a galaxy filled with challenges and unknowns. The two of them stood in silence for a few moments, watching the repair crews work and the station slowly return to normal. Humans and Varelians exchanged nods, smiles, and gentle gestures, mutual respect that had been forged in the crucible of crisis. Then, a curious thought crossed Elias's mind. Lyra, can you teach me more? Not just your language, but your culture, your ways. I want to understand your people more deeply. Her tentacles curled in a graceful pattern, glowing a warm yellow signifying pleasure and agreement. I will teach you. But you must promise. Patience. Understanding takes time. I promise, Elias said firmly. And I'll do my best. Over the next few hours, they sat together on the balcony, exchanging stories of their worlds. Elias told Lyra about human history, achievements, and the mistakes humanity had made. Lyra shared tales of Virelia Prime, their unique abilities, and the deep connection her people felt with nature, light, and energy. With each story, each gesture, Elias felt a growing bond, not just with Lyra, but with her species as a whole. He realized that the galaxy was full of beings with remarkable abilities and perspectives, and that humanity's greatest strength lay in respect, curiosity, and cooperation. You humans, Lyra said softly, often rely on machines, weapons, and strategy. But you noticed. You understood. That is your gift. That is why you survived today. Elias looked out at the swirling gas giant below. Maybe it's not just survival. Maybe it's more than that. Maybe it's about connection. About seeing others, valuing them, and working together. Even small gestures, even simple words, can shape the future. Lyra's tentacles glowed a gentle pattern of agreement. Then you are human in the best way. You carry potential for understanding and cooperation that even we Virelians can respect. As the station lights shifted to simulate night, a soft breeze from the station's environmental system brushed past them. Elias realized something profound. In a galaxy where alien species often mistrusted humans, where conflicts erupted over misunderstandings, a single gesture of respect, a compliment, had led to trust, collaboration, and mutual admiration. You know, Elias said thoughtfully, I think this is just the beginning. Not just for us, but for humans and Virelians. We've proven that cooperation works, that respect works, and maybe it can spread farther than this station. Lyra's tentacles formed a complex pattern. Glowing in radiant colors Elias had begun to recognize as excitement and agreement. Yes. And it begins with noticing, with understanding, with small acts that grow into great things. Elias smiled. Then let's make sure we notice. Always. Suddenly, a soft chime sounded from the station's communications hub. A human officer appeared on the balcony. Bowing slightly. Captain Kane, the Council wishes to formally recognize your efforts during the attack, and they wish to acknowledge your cooperation with Lyra and the Virelians. They call it extraordinary diplomacy. Elias chuckled softly. I don't know about extraordinary. It was cooperation, learning, trust. Lyra's tentacles pulsed in a pattern Elias had learned meant pride and satisfaction. She floated closer. It is extraordinary because it is rare. Humans often do not see the value in small gestures. You saw. You acted. That is enough to be remarkable. The officer nodded. The Council agrees. They would like both of you to share your experiences with other humans and Virelians, to teach what you've learned. Roth. Elias looked at Lyra. She floated calmly, her glowing tentacles curling softly around her. Do you think we can? He asked. Her glow shimmered brighter. Yes. We can. But it must start with understanding, trust, and small gestures. Elias smiled, thinking back to their first meeting. The compliment, the recognition, the simple words that had sparked this extraordinary chain of events. Then, we start with that, he said. Together, they returned to the central hub. Station personnel, both human and Virelian, gathered around to hear their story. Elias explained how cooperation and respect had been the key to surviving the attack. Lyra demonstrated subtle tentacle patterns to show how Virelians communicated trust and strategy. Humans listened, fascinated by the combination of light, movement, and intent. By the time the station quieted again, Elias and Lyra were exhausted, but their spirits were high. They had accomplished more than survival. They had bridged cultures, built trust, and demonstrated the power of kindness and observation. Finally, as the artificial night cycle bathed Aurora Nexus in soft blue light, Elias and Lyra returned to the observation balcony. The stars stretched endlessly before them, and the gas giant below shimmered like liquid silver. "You know," Elias said quietly, "I think I understand now. A compliment. Something small, human, simple, can change the world. It can save lives, build trust, and create bonds that last." Lyra's tentacles glowed softly in agreement. "Yes. And it can start anywhere. With anyone. With one human noticing one Varelian, or one Varelian noticing one human," Elias chuckled. "Then maybe we should make it a habit." Lyra tilted her head, glowing in warm colors. "I would like that." As they sat together, watching stars twinkle across the endless sky, Elias realized something extraordinary. In a galaxy full of danger, mystery, and unknown possibilities, humanity's greatest strength was not just technology or courage, it was respect, understanding, and the willingness to see others as equals. And sometimes, all it took was a simple compliment to start a chain reaction that could change everything. Lyra's tentacles wrapped around her gently, curling softly in a pattern that Elias now recognized as contentment. "You have done well, Elias," she said softly. Elias smiled, feeling warmth spread through him. "And you, Lyra, have taught me more than I could have imagined. Thank you." Above them, the stars shimmered. The station hummed quietly, and the galaxy stretched endlessly beyond. Two beings, from different worlds, had discovered that respect, kindness, and cooperation could bridge the deepest divides. And in that moment, they knew this was only the beginning of something far greater. The first threads of a lasting friendship, and perhaps a lasting alliance, had been woven, one that began with a single, simple, genuine compliment.